Good morning, all. We're going to go ahead and get started. Commissioner Sachs is in traffic, so as Vice Chair, I'm going to start the meeting, and it is 9:30. So this is the Solid Waste Authority Board meeting. I'm going to call it to order, and the clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor Sachs, Commissioner Marino,
Here.
Commissioner Baxter, Mayor Weiss,
Here.
Commissioner Barnett,
Here.
Commissioner Woodward,
Here.
Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Pelowitz, would you please provide an invocation and lead us with the pledge?
Absolutely. Dear God, we gather together here today, intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with your insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve and respect for all. Give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. We have supplemental information on item 7.1, the consulting engineer's letter of approval of the authority budget, which is required by the indenture of trust, and it's sitting before you.
Okay, may I have a motion to accept the change?
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the board minutes from June 14th?
So moved.
Oh, I got a first and a second. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Citizens Advisory Committee minutes. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Okay. Oh, this is easy. We're going to be out of here quickly. Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Small Business Advisory Committee meetings. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor? Again, unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? Hearing none.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion and we have a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Matters by the public. I have one card. Are we speaking now on that or
Yes.
during? Okay. For item number 6, High Point, David Goodlip. Oh, I'm efficient.
Turn the mic on.
How's that?
There you
One,
go.
two. I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. Have some of my compatriots in the audience today, and they're here in case we have any questions. They're owners of the company. There's been some changes at the top, and the Paul Cross is not with High Point, Florida any longer. We would like to talk with you about the information that we have received from your staff, putting on.
Could you hold on one second?
Absolutely.
Am I doing the 3-minute
Yes.
timer? Which I did not do, so. Here's where I might not be efficient. All right, there you go.
Okay, so I've got 3 minutes. I'll cut to the chase. That's the best way to do this. We're here today because we've been put on notice that we have not complied with the directives. We are still within the cure period, but we know from past history that working with building, planning, and zoning is difficult, and it's going to be a lengthy process. There's no way we can the issue that has been put before us within the time period allotted, so we're asking for an extension, and I've got several reasons why I think it's incumbent upon the board to consider it. There's been a lot of clutter. We've tripped a number of times, but we're trying to solve a problem that's never been addressed before. So we ask that you consider giving us a time extension, number one, because our lease is paid up until the 18th of December. Number two, because as far as we know, there's nobody in line to use the property, nor does the authority have an internal use for the property. We are paid to the 18th. It will preserve the longevity of the landfill because if successful, will reduce the stream going there. If we build the building, it will remain in your ownership long term should we advocate our position, and it solves an environmental problem that is very significant. So I think you guys have discussed this several times. We just respectfully request that you give us until the 18th of December, and if we haven't done the things that we're supposed to do, obviously the lease would not be renewed. So we're like the drunk that knocked at the door when his wife opened it up. He fell on the floor and said, "I'm prepared to take questions from the floor."
So, Mr. Goodlett, since Commissioner Sachs and Commissioner Baxter just arrived,
Yes.
if you would be so kind, I think this is important. So if you would like to, I'll
Commissioners,
refresh this and
well-
you can start again.
Welcome. I'll be brief. We have all discussed this issue on a number of occasions. There's been hiccups and trips and falls, and in this case, we ask that you consider allowing us to continue our lease until its termination date of December the 18th. We are paid up, which is important, and there are a number of very good reasons why I think that would be to the benefit of not only the public, but to the Solid Waste Authority. As far as we know, there's no use in line for the building. We haven't been told, well, we've asked and we're told there isn't. If the building is constructed, that would inure to your benefit. It has a revenue stream attached to it, and if we don't perform, the lease is up in 4 months anyway. So we are respectfully requesting today that you allow us to operate on our paid-up lease until its date of termination, which is the 18th, and then you'll have another bite at the apple to decide whether you want to renew with us or not.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goodlett. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for pitching in. It was challenging this morning on the road, and I hope everybody just took their time. I'd like to, Mr. Pelowitz, may I invite comments by the members of the board at this time?
Certainly.
Okay. I'd like to hear from.
Why don't you let him talk?
Okay, just one second. Are there any comments from any of the commissioners at this time? Before we get. Go right ahead.
More so a question. Didn't we vote on this the last meeting? So are we revisiting this? And forgive me, I was at a State of the Village this morning.
The board directed me 7-0 to terminate the lease if they didn't meet the requirements established by the board. My direction at this point in time, it was to provide them with the 60-day notice. They're in a 15-day cure period. Absent any change in direction by the board, it's my intent, if they do not satisfy the requirement to have all of their permits submitted by that date, to terminate the lease.
And so what are we exactly deciding then?
We're on public comment.
You're on
Okay,
public
just public
comment.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Right, and Horizon is Horizon is asking for the board's discretion to extend the deadline until December.
Thank you.
High Point.
I have Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Goodlett, where are you at on the permit process for this item?
Okay, so we have, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So we have begun that process. As stated before, this group is financially challenged, and so we went as far as we could go. We've visited with fire rescue. We have our site plan. But frankly, there are other permits that we need to apply for that we haven't. We have applied for some. Some are serial in nature. You have to get A before you can get B. But there are others we could have applied for. We did not once the letters came out, because to go in and lay in what will, in round numbers, be $250,000 cost, to do that and then lose the lease didn't make sense. So we wanted to come back here today under matters by the public, because we don't know what other use there is for the property. We're paid up. Understand what happened last month. I unfortunately couldn't be here then, but we're begging forgiveness and asking permission.
What's the, Madam Chair, can I follow up?
You go right ahead,
Um,
Commissioner.
How long would it take to obtain the full permits? What's your ballpark?
So I asked that question in anticipation yesterday. We can have the permits submitted within 30 days, but then it's, then we're in a waiting game like was previously commented on here by one of the commissioners. Then it's in the ballpark with the county, and it's a process that is a give and take after that. We can submit our permits in 30 to 45 days.
Now, what about so is it just the county that you have to submit permits for, or are there other entities?
We'll have to go to the Lake Worth Drainage District, I believe, but we've had some initial discussions there and don't believe that's going to be an issue.
Now, you had mentioned there's a change in the structure. Can you kind of like elaborate on that, please?
Yes, Paul Cross for years headed up High Point. They have a presence really worldwide. We were affiliated and associated with them. We felt like it was in our best interest to separate, and now High Point, Florida is run by Danny Montanez and Mr. Elmore and several more that have not had time to get here this morning for obvious reasons.
Okay.
But Commissioner, in further answer to your question, we don't understand, other than frustration, what the downside is to give us the remainder of our lease, which is paid.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, I have lights on for Mayor Weiss and then Commissioner Woodward. Go right ahead, Mayor.
Okay, my understanding is that you all been offered a refund, a prorated refund of the lease?
Yes, sir, that's correct. That's in the
Okay.
letter.
All right, very good. This has been going on for over 4 years now, and it's not something I would support, but if this board decides they want to try and do something different, I would suggest this thing go back out to an RFP.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good
my
morning.
first question is for Mr. Pelowitz. Being new to the board when this was coming to us, I don't have quite the history. Can you remind me on what were the original requirements before we issued the letter to terminate that they did not meet?
So this goes back to, they first made contact with us in 2018. The board asked us to go out to an RFP, do a desire to try and help solve the livestock waste issue. At the time, we were getting some of it. A lot of it was being applied out in the EAA. In 2019, June 2019, the board issued or approved the lease agreement with High Point. They were given 18 months rent-free in order to obtain their permits. That took them all the way to December of 2020. Prior to that, they had the opportunity to back out of the lease without penalty if they could not obtain their permits, which they did not. They got their initial zoning in 2020, December 2020, and since then, they've made little to no progress as it relates to permitting this project. They've received multiple extensions. In February, this last February, after not making the lease payment in December and being late in making the lease payment, they finally in February came back before the board, and the board gave them till May in order to submit all their permit applications. May came, no progress. June, this was back before the board. Again, at that point in time, the board directed me to provide the notice, the 60-day notice, and in the event that they do not come into compliance, do not meet the requirements, and that is to cure their default, which is the failure to submit all of their permit applications, which they had agreed to do. They didn't do that, and we just sent a letter, the 60-day letter in August, saying after Ramona Carey contacted Mr. Cross and asked for an update. The update was basically that they had not submitted all the permit applications, which they had indicated they would do, and as a consequence, we issued the notice, giving them 15 days to cure. Right now, where this sits is they have 15 days from that date, which I believe takes them to August 29th, to submit all of their permit applications. Quite honestly, we permit things all the time. 4 years and no progress is not something that any competent entity, I think, is a track record of competence. The issue we have, and the question was asked, well, why are we concerned, and why would we not want to continue the lease? The reality is once we allow leasehold improvements on this property, if this project doesn't succeed, then we are in a position of having to buy out those improvements, which we may or may not want to do. That's a liability that we're going to have to face. They're not going to give up. They're not going to build a $15 million facility, have it fail, and turn around and walk away and just leave it there on the property. When they submitted their response to the RFP, they said they had the financial capability, the technical capability to perform this project and to get it done. They have demonstrated over 4 years that they have not had that. And my concern is that we don't need that problem on this property, and their performance to date does not demonstrate that they have had the competence to do this. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. This is a business deal. And from the business standpoint, we have just not seen the performance that we would have expected from a competent respondent to an RFP who indicated they had the technological know-how and they had the financing. We're still hearing about issues with financing. They came up with $250,000. The project estimate is $15 million. Yeah, I mean, if you can't come up with $250,000, what makes me expect you're going to come up with $15 million? I mean, to assume that there are no risks for the authority, that's just not true. There are. And this property is a piece of property the authority owns. We don't own a lot of property countywide. We don't have excess surplus property available to turn over to a private entity for a non-solid waste entity, a non-solid waste project, to ultimately have it fail. So, I mean, I think we've given them plenty of time. I will follow board direction all the way to the end.
Well, I'd like a follow-up,
Sure, go
if I
right
may.
ahead, Trish.
As the mayor mentioned, we could do a new RFP for this. My question is, since this was 4 years ago, do we still need what was originally applied for? Do we need to do a new RFP, or is there a different use for this land?
Well, what I can tell you that's different now than then is, one, the Solid Waste Authority is receiving little to no livestock waste at all.
It's all being dumped in the EAA illegally.
We don't know where it's being dumped, but we do know there are other entities out there that are in this process in Wellington that are transferring livestock waste to Compost USA and others in Central Florida. And so the question really is right now is there an impending need for the Solid Waste Authority to have this facility on our property? And the answer is no. So if we want to go back out on the street, I think after 4 years, they are in default. They have been given every opportunity to cure. They haven't cured. We have the ability, if the board directs, to go back out on the street with an RFP for solid waste management uses for that property, and the board can make a decision at that time. Again, I'm willing to. We've gone more than 4 years. It's not going to kill me to go another 6 months or 4 months.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Woodward. Vice Chair Marino?
Thank you. Mr. Goodlett, thank you for your words today. I'm not in favor. And the reason I'm not in favor, it's very simple. When I sat in that chair, my first meeting, we were discussing this, and it was, we need a little bit more time. Several of the other commissioners were adamant about, this is the last time we're going to give you an extension. So it always comes down to the last final moment when someone is now doing a push to get this done. And I don't see this as a way to do business with the Solid Waste Authority, or sticking to what the RFP was. And I think you're now on your third ownership, or, I mean, there's always something that's happening right at the last moment to have you all come up and ask for an extension. So I would not be in favor. Sorry.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Baxter?
I agree. I think you had a little bit of an advantage with several new board members who hadn't been here for years seeing this play out. And as a business owner, I would be very upset if somebody kept changing the rules or the contract and extending, but much less 4 years later, I just don't see where we are being wise with our decisions, allowing this to continue. And as much as I want to see this happen and take place, I think I've lost confidence that that could happen.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners like to opine on this? I would. I take to heart what Mr. Pelowitz said. We've been at this for years, a couple of years on this issue. This is something we need to do. We need to find a way to dispose of animal waste because it is being dumped illegally in our canals and in backyards and in places where it is not good for our environment. If in fact you can come before this board within a time certain and show us that you have the financial means to continue this project. And the reason that I would be for it, the reason I say this is because we need to find a way to take care of this animal waste. It is, if this is something that's going to take a little more time, then a couple more months is not going to break the bucket for us. If there is anybody else out there who can have a better way to take care of animal waste in an environmentally safe and fiscally economical way, then let's hear it. Let's come to us and talk to us. But we've got to do something about this situation, especially with season coming up soon. We need to tackle this problem. So my opinion would be to give you a couple more months, see what you can do, and if not, you're out of there. But it is a problem we need to solve. I've never heard of anybody being able to do what you think you can do, but that doesn't mean that can't be done. It may be that it's going to take a couple of failures before you get to success. So that would be my opinion. However, I want to hear from others as well. I see that there's a light on from Commissioner Bernard, so why don't you go right ahead, Commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I've been here forever. I feel like I'm Moses. But this issue's been going on for a long time, and it's been a frustrating item. But there's a need that needs to be addressed. And so it's been a struggle because there's so many hiccups. But they're on their lease till December 18th. And I don't believe that they're going to be able to build anything between now and December 18th. So if there is a concern in terms of them starting and not being able to complete the project by December 18th, we would know whether or not we're going to renew this lease. I say, we give them the opportunity to submit all their plans, and because it's not going to hurt us, and by December 18th, this board can decide to terminate the lease completely. So I don't really have a problem with giving them the time since they already paid through it. But this need is really important for the Western community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you. I do, I guess, agree with the 18th, but I would like if you could potentially provide some proof that even if you get permits, you have money to actually see this through, and I don't know what that looks like. I will leave that to Dan. But especially with the $15 million to build a building, I think we need to see something to give to the end of this lease that shows the ability to pay for this, should it get through permitting. Otherwise, we're just wasting everyone's time.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll allow you to respond in a few minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Goodlett, in just a few
Oh, I'm
minutes.
sorry.
Just a few minutes. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. Just a follow-up to the RFP question. If we were to put this back out to bid, would we be able to do that by December?
Yeah, we could probably have an RFP document out by December. The issue here really isn't. The issue here is yes, we do need a solution to the problem. The question is whether the folks before us who came before us 4 years ago have that solution and have the ability to deliver it. And my concern is that they don't. And my concern isn't about the permits. My concern is about what happens to the property when it doesn't happen. So I'm raising the red flags. Obviously, it's your decision. A couple more months isn't going to kill anybody.
I
I'm
would
going to leave it
just,
with you.
if I may.
Go right ahead. Go
I
right
would-
ahead, Commissioner.
I understand that we do have a need for this, and if we were to put it back out to bid, you the next process when this goes around, and could maybe have more of your ducks in a row, shall we say, in order to move this forward. But I believe if this is truly a need, and I do believe it is something that we should work for, we need to put it back out and move forward from here instead of continuing and delaying. I don't want to be Moses at the end of my term with this still, coming before us. I would like, if we could, to move it forward in a different way. And if we need to make a more competitive process, then that's what I would recommend.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Just wanted to confirm, we are under matters by the public, and the board is not going to be taking any action or new action at this time. Is that correct?
The board could take new action. Basically, you would be, I guess you'd be reconsidering your, can we do that? Reconsidering your direction from the previous meeting? Since it was, I think it was unanimous, so any one of you could bring the issue and make a motion.
Assuming that doesn't happen, the time frame is December 18th, and they have at least until then to
No, they have until August 29th.
August 29th.
Right, so following the 60-day period, there's a 15-day cure under the contract, and we're within the 15-day cure period right now.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up for me. I was under a misunderstanding. I did remember hearing Commissioner Woodward and Commissioner Sachs state that there was a need for this project. I know you stated that you disagree. I know you certainly believe there's a need for this project. With regards to the animal waste that you say is being dumped illegally, there was a dispute as to whether or not that's actually taking place. And we don't know where that animal waste is being dumped. Do you have any evidence or information
Your
to share with
director
us?
can confirm that. He knows it's being dumped illegally.
But can
Yes,
you-
in the EAA.
I'm asking if you have any information to share with us that the waste is being dumped illegally.
It is, yes. Yes, I do. I can tell you that the waste is being dumped illegally. It's going somewhere, right?
All right, thank you.
Just like the tires. You see tires on the side of the road, same thing. If they're hauling it somewhere way north, they're paying for the transport and the tipping fee. Garbage is being dumped illegally all over.
Would
Yes,
you make
sir.
sure that gets to my office, please?
Yes, yes,
you so much.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Barnett, Commissioner Barnett. Vice Chairman Marino.
Thank you. So what exactly are we being asked of today specifically? Since you have until December 18th, what specifically are you asking for today? You're asking for an extension of the cure period?
We're asking for the ability to use the time between today and the 18th of December to get our permits. Our lease expires on that day. It's going to be completely up to you whether it's renewed if we're out of compliance. Please give us until that time. If we're not there, I promise you I won't show up here. That might be worth it. There you go.
Vice Mayor,
You knew the
if I
story
may
had a happy
continue.
ending, didn't you?
You've made lots of promises along the way. We've heard them. My concern is that we don't know the bona fides of the new owners. We don't have those. And I think that's something that we all need to see, because the question that, and you texted me yesterday, that's public record. You know, the $250,000 that you're going to spend in permitting fees is not that much when you're talking about $15 million. And if it took this long to scrape together $250,000, I do have concerns about being able to come up with $15 million to build a facility. I don't want to be, and Mr. Pelowitz said it very clearly, I don't want to be here in a year from now where there's, 4 walls put up and now there's no money to finish the project, and we now get the project back and we have to pay for completion or pay to demolish or anything of that nature. I don't have any warm fuzzies. This has been a constant, as I said, I've been here 3 years now, and this has been a constant asking for more time. So even if you were to get all your permitting and everything in place by December 18th, where are the assurances that you have the $15 million to build the building?
May I tell you?
Yes.
I have emailed to the chair a letter dated August the 21st from Financial Summit Ventures, Inc., which says that we have been considered and will be granted $15 million. It's now in the chair's hands.
And if I may continue, what are the guarantees on that? I mean, you've been considered and granted, but what's to keep them from changing their mind, saying, okay, you didn't get the permitting done, so we're going to withdraw our
Commissioner, with all due
modifieds.
respect, you ask us to tell you and show you proof that we're making progress on the financing, and now you want to know what the chances are that they could withdraw it.
Well, we're on our third owner, so we have to
Just
protect
give us till
the authority.
18th. We've paid our lease. Just please give us to the 18th, and then it becomes crystal clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it possible if we give them the opportunity on December 18th, when we're renewing the lease, to put some conditions in terms of getting either a letter of credit or a performance bond at that time? So in that way, if we do extend the lease or in December, then we can have those assurance. Mr. Pelowitz?
We've done that before, and we have received the letter supporting a performance bond. They don't guarantee the bond. They basically indicate their intent to issue a bond, so those circumstances can change. As far as the letter from the financing company goes, we had one of those in the original RFP as well, and we're still here. So yes, we could ask for a performance bond at that time, but I don't know whether they're going to be able to provide it or be at the point to provide it at that time if they've just submitted their permit applications. I hear that they're going to obtain, I guess I have a question. Can I ask?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead, Ed.
My understanding was there was a company called the Winkleman Group that was supporting this project as of a couple of months ago. Are they still involved in the project?
I think they and Paul Cross are holding hands somewhere. I don't think so. Are they involved? No.
So that's a no. So the Winkleman Group is now out, and there's a new letter from the financing institution indicating their intent to finance the project. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. Cross was the technology expert on this project. Who is with Mr. Cross out, who is now the technology expert on this project?
What is the gentleman's name? Chris Carney and a Mr. Rogers.
Chris Carney. Robert Rogers?
Yes.
We know
So
Mr.
Robert Rogers has been involved in this project since day one.
He's the signature on the lease, that's correct.
Right. He's been involved in this project since day one, and we're 4 years in, and Mr. Rogers is still involved in the project, and it hasn't proceeded. My question was, who is the technology expert? Who in your group has successfully implemented systems to process and recycle livestock waste into recycled livestock waste that can then be remarketed and sold?
I said Chris Carney.
Okay, and what is Chris Carney's background?
Sir, I don't have that. You have increasingly issued editorial comments that have gotten more flagrant as we've gone along. We understand where you are.
I guess my question then is
And you also haven't stated things exactly right, because if we build the building, you don't have to buy it. You brought that to our attention in the proposed lease, and we changed it so it inured to your benefit at no cost, at your request, and you know that.
No, the last time that you brought that up, sir, and I'm not going to get in an argument with you, it was Mr. Elmore had provided a list of stipulations that included that we have the option to buy the building. And if we don't buy the building, then Mr. Elmore could continue to use the property for some other purpose. We expressed our opposition to that, and in February we were advised that Mr. Elmore was now out of the project. So I guess if you're telling me this now, we need to sit down and the board wants to move forward, this is going to require a lease amendment similar to the ones we've previously done, with all of these details included in it. And that includes what happens if the project isn't completed, what happens if the project is built and then fails, what happens to the leasehold improvements that are placed on our property. Are we obligated to buy them? Do we have the option to will you post a bond to remove them if necessary? All of these things are complicated given the fact these constant changing in ownership, it changes the deal. So, I mean, I'm okay with the board extending this for as long as they want to. That's up to them. But it's not as simple as just saying that this lease will terminate on December 18th, because technically the lease terminates only in the event of default. And if you don't default under the terms of any renegotiated agreement, there is no termination. It's a 20-year lease. So I just want to make it clear that if December 18 comes, the only way this lease terminates is based on the terms of default that are in the lease agreement. So,
But let me
just one second. Just one
since I
second.
was still.
Are you done, Ms. Fellows, at this time?
yeah, I'm done.
Okay, Commissioner Bernard.
Yeah, I just
And then
wanna
I
make
want
su- that's
we
why-
have an attorney here, right? Okay, so you're going to opine here in a few minutes. But first, go ahead, Commissioner Bernard.
Yes, that's kind of like, are we allowed to modify the terms of the lease at December 18th to make sure that both parties have agreed? And if they haven't agreed at that time, then we terminate the lease on December 18th? Can we do that?
I mean, we've modified this lease, the board has modified this lease on 3 separate occasions, I believe. So we could do another amendment to the lease. You know, what I'm hearing today is possibly an extension to December 18th, some type of financial guarantee provided in a satisfactory manner to the Solid Waste Authority staff, and then, you know, an issue as to what leasehold improvements, what happens if there are leasehold improvements that are constructed, I think, within the next, well, at any time, really. And, you know, those are issues that could be, upon board's direction, taken care of, negotiated in an amendment to the lease.
And so, just
Go ahead, Commissioner.
what if we also included, if they haven't received their permit by December 18th, then it terminates, since that's not something that they can do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, in
I
fact,
just want to make sure that,
yeah, I'd suggest, if that is the direction of the board, that it essentially automatically terminate on December 18th without any additional notice or cure period, because we've been through multiple notice and cure periods to this point in time, and now I'm hearing that there's a request to go to December 18th, and I think it would be much cleaner and simpler and make more sense for staff to have that, if we do extend to December 18th, to have that as a basically, if the permits aren't applied for on December 18th and these other conditions, whatever they may be, are not met by December 18th, that it terminates and there's no additional need for any additional notice or cure or anything of that nature.
It appears to me that we're making modifications on the lease as we speak, and it also appears to me that this is really not ready for us to discuss. And are these modifications, are these acceptable to you as has been noted by the attorney?
Yes, ma'am, everything that I've heard is acceptable, but it has been said.
Your microphone, so we can record it.
I'm sorry. The devil is in the details. What I've heard is acceptable, but I've heard the permits two different ways. Having received the permits and having applied. We have no control over the receipt. I will agree right now till having applied.
Okay, so are you also in agreement with the other modifications that were just articulated by the attorney?
Yes.
Okay, is there any other, oh my goodness, Mr. Pelowitz, please.
Yes, can
give
I
us
just
your
be
opinion.
clear on what we're putting into the amendment? So the amendment's going to have the December 18th date, if the board directs me to do so, obviously. I think there probably needs to be a motion, second vote.
There will, right.
It's the December 18th date. It's a termination, immediate termination without further action in the event that all permit applications have not been submitted.
Okay,
It's a financial guarantee of some sort, a performance bond or something to cover the eventuality that if perhaps they start leasehold improvements or complete leasehold improvements, or at any time the project fails to deal with the ultimate disposition of the leasehold improvements on the property in a manner that holds the Solid Waste Authority harmless. Anything else,
Mr. Attorney, was there,
Mike?
And there's still, wouldn't we have to agree on the leasehold improvements, the terms of the leasehold improvements?
agreed to
no, hold on just a second.
How, Mr. Pelowitz,
Regarding, again,
what
Go ahead,
happens, who?
well, my opinion is that if there are leasehold improvements, that the authority has the option, but not a requirement to purchase the improvements based on appraisal. In the event the authority chooses not to, then it would be the responsibility of the tenant to have those improvements removed and the site returned to its original state.
Okay, you got that, Mr. Attorney? I want to make sure that we articulate exactly what the motion would be, and that it is acceptable to you. Mr. Pelowitz, are there any other conditions that you've
Not
seen
off
of?
the top of my head.
Okay, and the
And
clerk
also
has
the-
these written out so that, okay, that's very good.
And the lease would terminate automatically with no cure period whatsoever. Is that correct, Mr. Pelowitz?
Yes, that's okay with me.
Okay,
No.
all right. Okay,
If
no,
we're in violation.
Yeah, if you're
If we're in violation, it just doesn't
No, no, I'm
automatically
just saying,
terminate.
if you're in violation,
Also, yes, we're in agreement with the bond on the building, right? That's the only thing we'll be doing. And also, I think you ought to give yourself the option, if you don't want to buy it for what we want to sell it for or at fair market value or whatever, if we decide we don't want to tear it down and we can agree that you just take possession of it for your use, I think that ought to be an option too.
Yes,
Yeah.
an agreed upon negotiated price, absolutely.
for the improvements on the land. And you still have the floor, Commissioner.
I would, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make that motion that,
Okay, I wonder if we could I have these lights are buzzing.
Okay, sorry.
Because these folks want to be heard. So before you make the motion, and I appreciate that, I'm going to have these other folks speak. And I'm going to start with Mayor Weiss, and I'll go down the road. You'll be the last.
Thank you. Mr. Goodlid?
Yes, sir.
Has this ever been done anywhere?
No. It
So
hasn't.
there is no,
Is there a plant in Europe? In Vancouver, but
not like
it-
this.
listen, it's all new technology. I will 100% agree with you.
So there's no proof of concept of this. We're now 4 years into this. Nothing has moved forward. Virtually nothing has moved forward in 4 years. You've tied up industrial property in valuable industrial property in Palm Beach County with nothing to show for it. And we don't have experts. We don't have anything. Nothing has changed. I don't see why we want to continue to extend, making new terms each and every time. Nobody was here in June. We moved this, and it's always the last minute. It's always the last minute. And I, frankly, I thought I just don't see any point in continuing this on. We will make you whole based on the pro rata of the lease, so that you're now not out any money. But you've tied up this property for 4 years now, and I'm done with this. And I think it's a really bad idea that any motion get made. I think we let it just go, and let's move forward. And if at some point you want to try and get a project in there to deal with equestrian waste, we start over again. We design an RFP that meets the needs of the county and the Solid Waste Authority, and let's see if anybody can put it together. That's my recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. Vice Chair Marino.
Thank you. Mr. Pelowitz, how much money has Solid Waste Authority paid to improve this property already?
We're almost about $500,000 between constructing road improvements, extending roads, moving Palm Beach County Road and Bridge to the top of the old Cross State landfill. About $500,000.
Okay. And again, this is for applying for permits, not permits received, which they've had 4 years to do.
That is correct.
I'm with the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Baxter.
I agree. And just to clarify what I was saying earlier, when I meant proof, I didn't mean proof that you could get financing. I meant money in the bank. And it doesn't sound like you have that. So I'm not in favor of amending this lease.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. If there are no other lights, I'm going to say a few words, and I'm going to pass it to Commissioner Bernard to do the motion. My gut feeling is this. This is a new technology. I have never heard of anybody being able to take animal waste, and I've had animal waste for the last almost 40 years in my backyard. And if I could something usable, I probably wouldn't be here today. I'd be in someplace else enjoying the riches. And I think it's a technology, though, that we need to try. We have a lot of animals, a lot of horses, especially in Wellington, not in my district, but I remember Commissioner McKinley talking about it all the time. So if you need a couple more months to try this technology, get those permits in. But you know the temper of this board today. It is not patient because it has been a long time, and you've tried the good temperance of Mr. Pelowitz and the rest of the commissioners. So if it does pass, you've got a load on your hands to take care of the administrative part of it. So that's my opinion. I would be willing to give you the time, but don't try the patience of this board or our executive director. So let's go ahead and we'll call the question, and I'll have Commissioner Bernard state the motion, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a motion based on the conditions that were stated by Mr. Dan Pelowitz and also Attorney Mike Jones. Would that work?
Yeah, I think the conditions are in the recording and on the record, yes.
I don't think, does anybody need to have them restated? I think everybody understands what the vote is about. I'll second that motion, and I think at this time we better have a roll call vote.
as a matter of procedure,
I
the
can't
chair
second?
can't second the motion.
Okay. Shucks.
You can pass the gavel, I believe, right, Mike?
Okay. I'll pass the gavel to my vice chair, and I'll second the motion. And can we have somebody do the roll call vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Commissioner
I'm
Baxter.
sorry.
Madam Chair.
I'll leave the gavel with you for a few minutes.
Since I hear that there's a little differences on the board, may we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Baxter.
No.
Commissioner Barnett.
No.
Commissioner Bernard.
Yes.
Commissioner Marino.
No.
Vice Mayor Sacks.
Yes.
Mayor Weiss.
No.
Commissioner Woodward.
No.
It fails with a 5-2 vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Did you want to say something?
I did.
You go right
I
ahead.
just want to thank every member of the Solid Waste Authority. This has not been fun. The mayor is one of my very good professional friends. We have been able to to have a friendship through this. I knew from day one where he was. I lived in Breakers West for a while. I knew where that community was. You guys have bent over backwards to try to accommodate us. We appreciate it. We're sad that we didn't get to where we need to be, but we do respect how this has evolved and unfolded. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your professionalism, Mr. Goodlett. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving right along to number 7. Public hearing. We're going to open the public hearing for continuation of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2023. And if anyone from the public wishes to speak, please hand in your public comment card to the clerk.
We have no cards.
Do we have any
I'm
cards?
sorry, we have no cards.
Okay, very good. And staff, would you like to provide your presentation to us, please?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and other board members. Staff is pleased to present the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget for the governing board's approval. And at this time, we're going to have a presentation from our budget manager, Ms. Christina Richards.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Dumars. Go right ahead, Ms. Richards.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for your time this morning. As Mr. Dumars mentioned, I'm Christina Richards, Budget Manager here for the Solid Waste Authority, and I prepared a brief presentation of the changes since June. I'm also going to go through briefly the June rates that were approved for this year's fiscal year 2023-2024 trim notice. As you remember, we also proposed a debt prepayment to reduce debt by $15 million, and those were the rates proposed in June, assuming that the $15 million would pass as well. So just a brief recap of the June rates that were approved unanimously for the fiscal year 2024 trim notice. As, let's see, again, these include the $15 million in debt service savings. I believe last time I showed a slide of where we came in at our base for the top left chart for disposal. Residential rates, just for comparison purposes, we presented $190 per year in June, and that was approved. When initial requests came in from the departments and I consolidated everything, we were at $203 a year. So that $15 million brought us down substantially, and we've also been able to reduce disposal and some of the collection assessment rates a bit since. On the right-hand side, you'll see the tipping fees that we proposed. The only change proposed for fiscal year 24 is a $5 per ton increase to the building debris tipping fee rate that we receive from $60 a ton to $65 a ton for fiscal year 24, as we've had an uptick the past couple of years. The collection rates on the left remain flat to fiscal year 2023's adopted rates, with the exception of curbside for service areas 3 and 4, and that was due to last October's extraordinary rate increase for FCC. Likewise, Service Area 5 remained flat to last year, but we had to apply $32,000. They're under a cooperative service purchase agreement with South Bay, so a different contract, which they have one annual adjustment that caps their rate at 5%. We put in the full 5%, and to keep all the rates consistent and close to last year, we applied $32,000, and that remains. Their actual RRI came in at 5.71%, but they are capped, so it benefited the taxpayers this year. So again, this is the trim notice that you just saw as published in the, as required in the Palm Beach Post on July 14th, 2023 for public review. Okay, and that brings us to what we're proposing today for adoption for the fiscal year 2023-2024 property tax bill. So since June, residential disposal rates are down $2 per year, $2 per year to $188, and that's a $4 a year increase only from fiscal year 2023. Again, we started at 203 in the beginning with that 15 million, and we were able to reduce operating, and that's the reason for these decreases. Mobile homes are down $2 a year. And then multifamily, and mobile homes are down $1 and $2 a year, and they're only up $3 a year for multifamily and $5 a year for mobile homes from fiscal year 2023. Governmental assessment rates are also down since June by $1 per ton, and up since last year by $6 per ton. Commercial disposal rates are also down proportionately since June, about 1% for low, medium, and high generator properties as displayed on the screen. Mandatory collection rates were updated since June in accordance with their governing board approved contracts. All service areas are down $1 since June and are less than or flat to fiscal year 2023's adopted rates. Service Area 5 remained, okay, I went too far. And Service Area 5 is flat to June and also flat to last year. And again, we have that $32,000 that we applied so that we didn't pass it on to the taxpayer. Okay, yep, still going ahead. Okay. Disposal revenues are down about 1.4 million, and I have a slide coming up to show just in a picture format to see where we are with that. And assessments, and that includes assessments, down 1.3 million, which reduced the disposal assessment rates, and collection or tipping fees are down about 52,000. Disposal operating expenses are down 1.2 million, and as I mentioned in June, that's due to Senate Bill 7024, which was approved relatively like a week before the this board meeting, and I believe a day before the CAC meeting on June 5th, and that adjusted their initial proposed rates down significantly, so we were able to bring that down. Debt service remains as proposed in June, down 15 million. Debt service coverage is only down slightly, just due to rounding. We're at 162%. We were at 163% in June. Our only required minimum is 110%. Our consulting engineer, who reviews all of our budgets and provides his letter of approval, recommends rather that we're at 115%. Our total capital budget, like we discussed in June, we are using $12.3 million in general reserve contributions to fund $12.3 million in landfill costs for expansion and closure. They were in the outer years of our 5-year capital improvement plan, so we decided to fund them this year since we do have slightly an uptick in our general reserve funds, and that way it wasn't passed on to the taxpayer as well. Blighted, again, is funded for a 9th year at $750,000, and mandatory service areas 1 through 4 and 6, like I said, are down $1 a year, and that's from decreased fuel. They have 2 biannual fuel adjustments to 10% of their rates. So I went with the latest that was available July of 2023, which is released on the 1st of each month for the prior month. and service area 5 is equal to June and fiscal year 23, with those 32,000 in reserves applied to cover the 5% and not pass it on to taxpayers. Service area 1 through 4, the other 90% and 6 is based on an RRI as well, and their RRI came in at 4.49% for this budget. Oops. Okay, so these are, we have a balanced budget, and these are the details of our entire budget and where the funding is coming from. Let me see. So the total that we're proposing today is $355.1 million, and that's for both disposal and collection, versus $356.5 million that was proposed back in June. So that's that 1.4 million decrease that I mentioned. And as you can see on the left, we do have the legal authority to essentially charge the full dollar, but on the left, the 236.9 million are our total disposal and collection assessments, whereas the other revenues that we receive from electricity, from tipping fees, from our pelletizer, recycling, interest, and others such as franchise fees, totaled about 118.2 million. So that was also not passed on to the taxpayers. This is a chart of our general reserve history. I know a lot of you have seen this quite a few times. It's just to show how we've used our general reserves over the years to either defease or prepaid debt, also to fund capital if we're able to try and keep rates as consistent as possible and well below inflation, especially the last couple of years. It's important to note that Moody's does review our our general reserve balance as our cash on hand when they do our annual credit review. So we're currently at about approximately 105 million. So it's important to show that our reserves are stable because it is taken into account when they're giving us our rating, and we want to keep our AA2 with Moody's. And here, like I was mentioning, this is the fuel index used for service areas 1 through 4 and 6 for 10% of their rates, and it's a biannual adjustment. The reason we were able to reduce rates is because, as you can see, the July 2023 oil price information service, or OPIS, number at about 271 is down from what we presented from what was available back in June. It's also down 20.9% from the blended average that came in last year for fiscal year 2023. However, it's still up about, I believe, about 28. It's up 29.2% from the contract base. So we started about 210 as the index back when these contracts started, and we're at about 271. Now, as you can see, the last, since June, it's kind of been trending up. So we did put a little bit of an inflator in there just because we don't know what fuel is going to do over this year. And with that, that brings us to what we're proposing today, circled in blue, for the Palm Beach County property tax bill. The yellow to the right-hand side, the two right columns, show the changes since June, and then I included the proposed in light gray, and then directly to the left of that is the fiscal year 2023 adopted budget. So they're all up about 1%, like I mentioned before. For collection rates, again in blue and circled, we're in contract year 5, and the blue are what we are proposing today. And again, the two columns to the right in yellow, you can see, like I mentioned, they're all down about $1, except for service area 5, because we already applied 32,000 in reserves to not increase their rates and keep them proportional in our proposed budget back in June. Okay. So with that, these are the rates that we're proposing today for adoption, and it shows the year over year. There were no changes on the right to tipping fees other than we kept the $5 proposed increase to building debris at $65 a ton. And our consulting engineer, that was in addition to your memo today, he thoroughly reviewed it, and his firm submitted their letter of approval approving our fiscal year 2024 budget. This is what staff is seeking for the fiscal year 2023 property tax bill. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Pelowitz, and we're available for questions.
Thank you, Christina. So just in summary, the board approved rates in June for the trim notice. The rates we're coming to you today are lower than what was approved for the trim notice. We've maintained relatively stable rates, and we've been able to fund some future capital projects this year, which takes pressure off of future rates, and we're asking for the board's approval and adoption of the budget and approval of the assessment and tip fee rates, approve the tip fee schedule, and adopt resolutions 2023-03, 2023-04, and 2023-05.
Very, very good. Thank you, Mr. Pelowitz. Just to follow the regime, does any member of the public have any comments? All right, seeing none, we're going to move now to the board, and I see a light on with our Mayor Weiss. Go right ahead, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Richards, for the excellent presentation. I just want to thank Solid Waste Authority staff. You guys have done an excellent job putting together a budget that satisfies the needs of the Solid Waste Authority while saving our ratepayers substantially. And it's due to, I believe, very good fiscal and overall management of this operation. So with that, I'd like to make a motion.
Very good. Seeing no other comments, is there you're going to, well, let me read the motion into the record.
Thank you.
The motion will be to adopt the budget, to approve the assessment and tip fee rates, and approve the tip fee rate schedule. So we have, is that proper? Thank you. I want to make sure, because this is a very important motion and vote. Amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Pelowitz and your team, for getting us to this spot. Excellent. So we have a motion on the
Chair.
floor, but
I'm sorry. You didn't mention the resolutions in the,
no, I was going to go to those.
you're going to do those separately?
Yes, I would like to. Thank you. It's good to have a lawyer on the board here. All right. So everybody understands the motion. We have a motion on the floor by Mayor Weiss. Do I see a second? We have a second by Commissioner, by Vice Chair Marino. And why don't we have a voice of, no, we're going to have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good. See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Now, we're going to adopt the resolutions. Mr. Pelowitz, I wonder if you could read resolution caption 2023-03 into the records.
Resolution number 2023-03, a resolution of the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County, Florida, implementing provisions of Solid Waste Authority Resolution 2021-01 and Resolution 91-27 and Florida Statute 197.3632, establishing mandatory solid waste disposal and collection programs, adopting a schedule of property classifications, adopting rates, defining collection areas, ratifying and adopting the annual non-ad valorem assessment roll, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Very good. Thank you very much. Has everybody heard and understood the resolution? At this point now, is there a motion on the floor to adopt this resolution? I see one by Commissioner
moved.
Baxter, seconded by Commissioner Bernard. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? See that motion carries 7-0. Moving right along, Mr. Pelowitz, if you could read resolution caption 2023-04 into the record.
Yes, resolution number 2023-04, a resolution of the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County, Florida, implementing provisions of Solid Waste Authority Resolution 2021-01 and 91-27, establishing mandatory solid waste disposal and collection programs, adopting a schedule of property classifications for governmental properties, adopting the annual disposal and collection assessment roll for governmental agencies, providing an effective date.
Very good. Everybody has heard and understood the resolution as read into the record. Do I have a motion to adopt? Okay, by Vice Chair Marino, and it is seconded by Commissioner Baxter. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? See that motion passes unanimously, 7-0. Mr. Pelowitz, could you read resolution caption 2023-05 into the records, please?
Yes, resolution number 2023-05, a resolution of the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County, Florida, implementing provisions of Solid Waste Authority Resolutions 2021-01 and Resolution 91-27, establishing mandatory solid waste disposal and collection programs, ratifying and adopting the annual service charge billing roll, providing payment periods, providing early payment discounts, providing enforcement, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Pelowitz. Everyone has heard and understood the resolution as read into the record. Do I have a motion? Very good, Commissioner Barnett. And I have a second by Commissioner Baxter. I should look over here more to the right. I'm sorry. All in favor? Everyone. Anyone opposed? Find that motion carries 7-0, unanimous at this time. If there's no other information or motions towards on this hearing, this public hearing is now closed. Thank you very much. Is there any old business at this time to be brought before the board?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any new business to be brought before the board?
No, ma'am. Only in comments, we do have a brief presentation on the progress of the lithium-ion battery campaign.
Yes. Very good. So why don't we hear that right now? Talk to us about these lithium batteries. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. Thank you for inviting me back this morning to give you an update on our public education campaign on lithium batteries. So we've made...
Could you state your name, please, for the record?
Yes, of course. Jessica Winter.
I see it right there. Very good. Thanks, Ms. Winter.
You're very welcome.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So we've made an update to our campaign page, swa.org/LIB, to make the tool that we have embedded on the page a little bit easier for people to see. So we pulled it right up to the top there as shown in the image. And just as a reminder, folks can just enter their zip code or their address into there, and it'll bring up the nearest location where they can make their battery drop-off, including any of our HCRC locations, the home chemical recycling centers, or a local big box store. We've also wrapped the truck that we have in my department, a box truck with one complete whole side with the campaign branding. We had a 30-second commercial we had previously produced. We're going to produce another one, just refresh it for 30 seconds, and then we'll also create a new 15-second commercial that will get out there on the air with our next advertising round. We'll also be scheduling a press conference for November 1st with our friends at Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, where they'll do a live demonstration. And we've established 4 recurring collection events for these batteries. One of them, the first one coming up, will be in November in conjunction with our America Recycles Day event. Post-holiday season, around January, we'll have one. We'll also do one in conjunction with spring cleaning in April, and then one related to back to school in August. So far, the municipal and community outreach we've done since last board meeting, as of last week, I've contacted all 39 municipalities to ask for their participation, not only with educating their constituents in their jurisdiction, but also with getting stickers onto their garbage carts. And as far as the stickers are concerned, we've got some samples that have been ordered, and we'll be testing those over the next couple of months, and then our plan is to actually get those onto the bins by December. Elise Weintraub Brown from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, my counterpart in this campaign, we've been busy in the community doing some presentations. So the first one we made was to the Alliance of Delray Residential Associations, which covers a large part of the community in the south end of the county, as you know. And then we also went to the Palm Beach County League of Cities Environmental Committee. And out of that, we were connected with the PIO from the city of Riviera Beach. And she did a nice story that went on social media, about a 2.5-minute story, also on their public channel 18, and was shown in their government TVs in their buildings. That included a couple of residents on Singer Island who recently had a lithium battery fire in their apartment. And then Elise and I are also planning a community focus group. We want to pull together some constituents of the county, representative of all the demographics in our county, so we can try and further refine and make our campaign effective, trying to see what kind of messaging is going to really resonate with people. We also went on a field trip one day and we visited all 7 of our HCRC locations. And what we discovered out of that is that we need to make some signage modifications and improvements to make things a little bit easier for the public. So we're working on that. And then we're also considering operationally some enhancements to our on-site collection strategy to make things, again, just a bit easier for everyone. And then we're going to be visiting the local retailers like the Home Depot, Lowe's, Best Buy, those places, not only so we can learn their collection process, again, understanding what the customer experience is when they do the drop-offs, but also to try and connect with their sustainability contacts to see if they can help us with campaign measurement. I did reach out to all of them, but unfortunately haven't heard anything back. So we thought maybe going in and making some face-to-face contact might help to move that forward. And we also are, I know Commissioner Woodward, you had specifically asked us about measurement. So we are still trying to figure out exactly how to measure this. It is a little complicated, but we are working on it. And I can tell you, at least anecdotally, I have heard from some of the staff in the HCRCs that have said they have seen an uptick in the batteries being dropped off. And that's it. So if you have any
Thank you very
questions,
much.
I'm
Do we have
happy
any
to take those.
questions or comments by members of the board? Yes, we do. Vice Chair Marino.
Thank you. I believe last time I said, I suggested you contact Sal Faso from the North County Neighborhood Coalition. Have you been able to get in touch with him?
Commissioner, my recollection is that you had taken my card and was going to pass that along.
Him, and I did. So he hasn't contacted you.
I have not heard from
So,
him. no.
okay, so that will be a follow-up phone call. The Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce has an environmental committee, so that might be another avenue, and I'll be happy to do that also.
Okay,
And I'll follow up with Sal Faso.
thank you very much. I will
And
also,
from our perspective, a lot of us put out e-newsletters. If you want to share your 15 or 30-second ads, I'm sure we can somehow add those to our newsletters.
okay, I can get everything.
If that's okay with the rest of that. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Commissioner Woodward.
Yes, thank you. I just had a question about when you're going into the communities, we're going to be pushing this out a little bit more in the fall as everyone comes back. And I wanted to maybe get a better understanding of what we're sort of promising them that you will come and do, just like a brief synopsis of your presentation so I can explain to them what I'm asking.
So the presentation that Elise and I have made so far, it's we can, of course, make it a little shorter if we need to, but generally it's about 15 minutes. And it's essentially the same presentation that we made to you when we first introduced you to this topic.
Very good. Anything else, Commissioner Woodward? Okay. Yeah, all right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much, Ms. Winter. I know that we do share that. And it was a really surprise to me that those little battery-powered birthday cards and things is an issue with and then all the toys, all these batteries that we use. So it is really a tremendous help. Thank you for bringing it up.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Mr. Pelowitz, for having this subject brought up. Because I can just imagine the amount of batteries this county produces. Okay. That is it with that. Thank you so much, Ms. Winter. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Are there any comments by the board at this time? We're going to start with Mayor Weiss.
I just, again, I want to thank you for the excellent work on the budget this year, but I also want to thank Solid Waste Authority staff as well as PBSO. We've had an issue near a property near the Boys and Girls Club on Drexel Road that continues to see illegal dumping going on that property. You all have been very helpful in getting it cleaned up multiple times. We are working to try and find a longer-term solution for this, but in the meantime, really appreciate the cooperation of the Solid Waste Authority in helping us address the terrible thing that's going on this property. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Commissioner Woodward?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd just like to say I did do a follow-up, a much more in-depth tour with Solid Waste Authority a few weeks ago, and brought some constituents with me who were not exactly sold that Palm Beach County recycles, no matter how much we tell them we do. And since then, they've been like the biggest advocate in South County to make sure that people are recycling. So thank you for that. Part of it is persuading people that what we do, is worthwhile, and that when you put the your recycling in the different color containers, it actually does get dealt with appropriately. And congratulations on us being the #1 county, right, in the state for recycling. A lot of that's due, to the work that you guys are doing and how you work with the municipalities. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And it's important for us to continue to persuade the population. It was brought up, my friends, they live in Europe. God love them. There's more of a carrot and stick mentality of forcefulness of it. And we don't do that. I don't want to do that. I would just like to persuade people to participate in recycling and doing this the right way. And one question that I did have with your staff on my tour was being able to share with the public finished goods or products that come from our recycling, and as part of like a campaign to move forward, because even finding out some of the pelletizer can be purchased through fertilizer at a Lowe's store. So being able to tell people and show them finished products I think it's going to be a game changer for a lot of people who don't think that recycling matters. I know we don't make a lot of money for it, but it's good that it doesn't have to go into the landfill. So thank you for that. And also, it's my happy birthday, so.
Oh, my goodness.
Happy birthday.
Oh, wonderful. Happy birthday.
I was going to say that in my
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay, moving right along. Commissioner Baxter.
I just wanted to say thank you to staff's help and to Dan's help for helping with the illegal dumping actually at Santa Rosa Groves, right outside the neighborhood. So just thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Barnett. No comments. And Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to thank staff, Mr. Den Pelowitz and your entire team, Paul Dumars and Christina Richards, on an excellent job with the budget. And we really appreciate the hard work that you do provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair Sachs. Staff, as always, thank you. I know we had a little bit of a contentious meeting today, but I think the resolution that we came up with was good. Probably speaking for the board, it sounds like a new RFP for that property might be in order.
Absolutely.
So,
We'll start working on it.
And with some specifics, maybe more specifics than we had last time. We did make a $500,000 investment in that property, so there should be some return on it. So I look forward to hearing what that might be in the future. Staff, again, thank you very much. Happy birthday. You stole my thunder. I was going to say it. But happy birthday, and thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Do we have any remarks from our attorney? Mr. Jones.
No comments.
Always good to hear the attorney say that. It keeps me happy. Thank you so much. And I, as the chair, I just am so proud to be part of this team that you have. And I have just the greatest accolades of what you did with the budget. Serving in the legislature, I know that the state of Florida always balances our budget, but many organizations have a hard time. And in these days of inflation, even at Publix, it's so difficult to get out without 3 digits. And you don't even buy any meat and you walk out with it, So under the leadership, the able, competent, professional leadership, Mr. Pelowitz, this team is sterling. I am so proud of all of you. And I am proud to serve as a county commissioner and chair of this organization. Thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to announce that our next meeting is October 11th. And if anybody has a birthday, let us know ahead of time. So I'm ready for cake. So I'm looking forward to that, and this meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you.